Good afternoon everyone, welcome to another video. I'm Maz and today I'm not in my Jag. What I'm currently in is a 2019 BMW 320d XDrive G20. So this is the latest iteration of the 3 Series, bar the facelift version of course, or Lifecycle Impulse as BMW named them. So I've got this car currently while my XF is getting a new rear bumper at the tail end of last month. I got rear-ended on the A46. So luckily the other person took full responsibility and their insurer decided to pay in full. So huge thank you to their insurer. So the XF is currently being repaired by Panelcraft Swindon, and this 3 Series belongs to Enterprise of Swindon. Luckily they did provide a car of a similar category, well similar, the direct Jag to this 3 Series with the smaller XE. Currently driving through rush hour Swindon, and this car is much easier to manoeuvre and much easier to park. This particular 3 Series has a reversing camera, and a very good one as well, along with parking sensors and a sort of bird's eye view of how close you're getting to the car. Most 3 Series nowadays are automatics. This uses the same ZF 8-speed found in the XF and the XE. This iDrive controller still uses the rotary dial, which I much prefer, so that way I can just control the infotainment system so I don't have to reach over and leave fingerprints on the screen. This being an XDrive, so when I give it the beans, it is willing to pick up. Can't do it too much here because of rush hour, as aforementioned. But it does really pick up the pace. One thing I've noticed from my point of view in this 3 Series, I feel a lot closer to the side of the car, whereas the XF I felt a little bit more centered. This does take a bit of getting used to, which means the right hand crease is almost directly in front of me. That was XDrive helping me exit a roundabout, well, enter and exit a roundabout immediately. Currently in Wootton Bassett Road. Oh yes, the indicators on this one. The ticking seems to be coming from the speakers. And by speakers I mean it's coming from all the way over there somewhere. It's kind of like a surround sound system. And of course, this newer model has reverted to the more traditional indicator stalks. BMWs in the past, they would, when you pick left or right, they'd go back to where they were originally. And if you were to cancel them, the other one would go off. Luckily, not a problem in this particular car. And that's also where the no indicator joke came from. And while we're here, let's have a quick peep at BMW. Maybe pull up and show you the exterior of the car. So here's the exterior of the car. It's an M Sport pre-facelift Shadow Edition. So as you can see, the kidneys are black. Coming down the side, it's got diamond cut wheels. This belongs to Enterprise, so inevitably it's going to have so many curb rashes. And I do quite like the blue calipers on here. Here's the mirror, and of course the entire side of the car is gloss black. And I mentioned this on the M3 video, the Hofmeister kink stays put when you open the door. That's a really old BMW trademark that's been around since the 50s, named after, of course, Wilhelm Hofmeister. coming round to the back. The tail lights, they do have the signature BMW L outline, but due to the clear part of the cluster not following the L shape, I've criticised it for looking too much like a Lexus, and even to this day I still think they look like they came from a Lexus. And of course there's your XDrive emblem and the obligatory M Sport lit spoiler. Despite being a diesel, it still has real exhaust pipes, and yes, they are twin pipes, one on each side, and of course they're black, denoting this is a shadow pack. One signature BMW quirk is that to unlock the bonnet you pull on this twice. This is to prevent having to fiddle with the catch underneath, so here you can just pull them straight away. The second tug pretty much reassures the system that yes, you do want the engine to open. And there's the 2-litre 4-cylinder in all its glory, with some carbon accents and of course twin power turbo. Oh, and yes, since we're in 2022, there's the turbo. While we're stationary, let's have a look at the various features you get in this particular vehicle. So ambient lighting, so that's when this part of the dash and that part of the door lights up. So we currently have it set at orange, but you can have it bronze and white, or just plain bronze, plain white, blue, green, or in this case green and white, and lilac. Personally, I'll stick to orange, so that way it matches the speedo and the rev counter. You can also choose the brightness, as well as dynamic lighting. In the dark you can have it dimmed so it doesn't distract as much. There's also exterior lighting, so you've got the one-touch indicator which flashes. You get DRLs, not just for the front but also for the rear if you would like so. You can also have the welcome and goodbye comfort lighting. I'm assuming that's when you unlock and lock the car and the lights to stay on for a bit, and you can choose how long you want them to stay on. Also, while we're here, look how the vehicle moves about when I pick settings. That's a neat addition. You can also choose driver's profile. You can choose the name and the avatar. This belongs to Enterprise, so we'll leave that as is. One thing I'm not too keen on is the drive mode selector. They're physical buttons, so you have to sort of look down while operating it. So for sport, comfort, eco, pro and adaptive. That being said, there are some color changes. So if I go to dynamic, the dials go red, standard is of course orange, eco goes into blue, and adaptive is back to orange. Of course, heated seats, your standard essentials. The BMW like to put their passenger ones within reach of the driver as well. So if you're driving along with a passenger and they're just minding their own business, you can just give them a nasty surprise just like that. Personally, I'd much rather have them on the doors like you get in a Mercedes C-Class. Speaking of doors, the door release does have some Lamborghini Huracan vibes, the way it's angular and it's a full ring. There's a bottle holder in the driver's door pocket as well as the passengers. There's a little pocket here for you to store your key. And one thing I'm not too keen on is that there is a door pocket, but it goes far too deep in the back. So if you got, let's say, a tiny valuable and it's all the way here, it's hidden from view, so even you will probably end up forgetting that it's there. The grab handle comes out diagonally, which helps give some clearance to the bottle holder. On the center console, thankfully this car does not have gloss black plastics. You got some cup holders here, a USB, place to store your phone, and a 12-volt socket, which has a very old-fashioned cigarette lighter style. Luckily this one's not a cigarette lighter. One thing I've noticed when trying to go into reverse, I often, the palm of my hand always accidentally presses the P button, so maybe having it on top of here would have helped a little better. There's a blank here. My views on blank buttons, they always look terrible. Opening the glove box, perfectly damped, and it's off, and the handle is offset to the driver, so the driver does not hurt themselves when operating the glove box. Center storage, perfectly big enough to store a GoPro. There's a USB-C down there, and that's about it. And a little runner here if you plan on taking your wire all the way into that phone cradle that I mentioned earlier. The paddles are plastic, and while they're silver on this side, they're cheap plastic on the other. Okay, not cheap, but compared to alloy pedals, they're nowhere near as nice. The indicator stalks that I mentioned, they just feel a bit too flimsy. Same story with the wipers. Just like the XE and the XZ, you got a little button on the indicator stalk which lets you cycle through what menu you want. Nicely convenient, though personally I'm not a big fan of how the rev counter goes the other way round. They did it to free up some space, but I keep overlooking the rev counter too much and I focus too much on the center, so having it over here would have been in my center line of sight. The digital reader, too much to the left, probably better to have it up here somewhere so it's in your direct line of sight when driving, of course. Inevitably, this being a diesel, it will have AdBlue or diesel exhaust fluid somewhere, but I'm not sure putting it right next to the fuel door, well, next to the filler cap even, is quite convenient, because I'm worried I might put into the wrong one. Having it somewhere else probably would have been a bit safer. Coming to the back now, the seat belts are still clipped in, and I like how the center one is tilted away so you don't mistaken it for the other one. Isofix flip ups, which is much better than the removal ones you get in Audis and Jaguars. The rear seats do get some climate controls, which is quite neat, though obviously that comes to the detriment of foot space for the central passenger. Obligatory armrest. Not sure about the way this one drops and the way the back rests bounce. You got cup holders here, they're in a cover, so obviously they're plastic, so that's where your wrist rests. I think having the cup holders here would have been better, though most manufacturers put them this way, and Tesla decided to put theirs all the way here, so it's not the worst that I've seen. And again, you got your bottle holders in the back, so you got about 8 different places to store your drinks. And a quick glance at the shark fin. This being an M Sport, you do get the M Sport kick plates and the alloy pedals. This particular one does have seat bolster adjusters. While it's not obvious, but these parts of the seats do tighten up, which is great if you're doing some spirited driving, or if you want to cruise along and not have the bolsters in the way. Back inside now, and first thing that takes your attention are these M Tricolores seat belts. They of course have the 3 colours of the M badge, red, blue and purple in between. BMW have been using these since the E46s. They still have these little, not sure what these called, these things that go down when you lock the car, which can be a bit inconvenient if you like to drive with your arm out, depending on your build or height. And of course they go down, like I said, they go down when you drive off. So if I hit the lock button, they go down, and when I unlock them, they come back up. One thing I really don't like are these sun visors. They feel very wafery. They feel too thin and too flimsy and too squeaky. Jaguar, by contrast, have theirs covered in headliner as well, just like this. It's a small detail, I'll admit, but it is something that gives a dramatic effect to the overall experience. Time to get back on the road now, so foot on the brake and press the start button, and of course just there's the obligatory BMW warning chime. It wants me to press the button, so button in, and now we're in drive. And there we go, that's manual. Interestingly, if you turn the engine off while in manual mode, the thing goes back into its place. Back on the road now. That was just the GoPro handle making noise in here, and we're back in traffic. Mind you, it does drive quite smoothly. One thing I'm not too keen on is the steering wheel. It's a bit tilted away at the top, so it's fine at the bottom, but then feels too far away at the top, and if I adjust that, get it right at the top, it's then on the steering wheel's on my knees. So I really hope they amend that in future models. In the XF, if you move it up and down, it's a lot more still. Makes a decent noise for a diesel, mind you. And I keep... These indicators are so light that when I try to manually center them, I keep overcorrecting it and end up triggering the other ones as well. So yes, just to clarify, these no indicator jokes, it's not the driver's fault, it's the car's fault. And since we're on a 70, let's try cruise control. Yep, cruise control works. Though strangely, it only goes in increments of 5, so here we go, 66, then it jumps to 70, and if I want to go down, back to 65, back to 60. That could be a bit inconvenient if you're driving in Ireland or in the mainland and they use kilometers, and you want 62 miles per hour if you're in a 100 kilometer zone. I hope they go to increments of 1 instead of this, just in case. Other things I'm not too keen on is there's no place to store the sunglasses. They've got a driver's side grab handle, so they could have swapped that for a holder for the sunglasses. Yep, I've done it again. Hit right, tried to cancel it, and it's bounced back to left. On a serious note, despite being a diesel, it drives very, very smoothly. I could barely tell this car runs on diesel. It's almost as quiet as a petrol. Almost inaudible too. Whereas in the XF, if I were to put my foot down, you could hear a bit of engine. And if it's cold, you could really hear the engine rattle. Though obviously, the car, this 3 Series isn't cold, so I can't really pass judgment on what a cold start sounds like. Another thing I don't like about this car is the space for your left foot is quite small, so bit of the right hand part of my foot keeps getting off the footrest, but that's a very minor niggle. What do I like? Some of the switches do have some silver finishes to them, and others have some black ones. The window switches, they do feel upmarket, but they could do with a bit of silver finishes like they did on the door handles. If this were to be a C-Class, all this would have been silver. Another thing I've noticed, the paddles, they extend to the top, but they don't extend to the bottom. So if you're holding 10 and 2, that's fine. 9 and 3 is just about fine, but if you've got 20 past 8, it's a bit tricky to change gears. Though most 3 Series buyers don't really change their own gears, unless it's a 3-pedal model. Just found myself in Peatmore with some speed bumps. Let's see how this car copes. Very smooth for these speed bumps. Here's another one. Yep, that one was quite good. Any more undulations? Nope, that's all the oh, here's another speed bump. Yep. The 3 Series definitely does do well on speed bumps. How does it go over a manhole? Not too bad, though that was probably a very smooth one. One more speed bump. Yeah, quite good. One last thing to do with the BMW. Put it into manual mode, see how it works. Considering this is an automatic torque converter, the same one used in the XF as ZF 8-speed, it does respond very, very well. Sure, there is a split-second delay, but that's what you'd expect with most of these cars anyways. Here's an overtaking opportunity. Responds very well as well to the pedal. And here's a... Nope, just turned green. Brakes. Let's see how the brakes work. Red light. They're a lot smoother than on the Jag. On the Jag they're a lot grabbier, both with the XF and the E-Pace, though with the E-Pace you had a little dead spot. Luckily there's no dead spot on here. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about with this car. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed watching me review my courtesy car, a BMW 320d G20 M Sport. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you are new, ring the bell to stay up to speed, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers!